Welcome back to the training. Up to this point, you have hopefully identified who your person is, identified the 3 to 5 products that you are going to sell to that person, and you've begun to think about how to bring that product to market. If you have a pulse, you should be feeling excited at this point because you've heard the stories and you've probably seen in the news case studies of businesses that have been built and sold for tens of millions of dollars. You know, your brain will really change when you start viewing the world through brands. Every time I go to the grocery store, every time I go to any store, really, I now see it. I see brands that are selling products that aren't necessarily different than everybody else, and yet are making millions, sometimes billions of dollars. You know, there's not much of a difference between Honey Nut Cheerios and whatever the knockoff Honey Nut Cheerios brand is. What's different is the brand. What's different is the positioning. And that's why it's so important for us to have those foundational items decided upon. Who is our person? And what are the 3 to 5 products that we're selling to them? Now, if you are like most of your peers, most other people who want to build businesses, then you have gone through this training without doing any of the assignments. Am I right? If so, you're going to have a hard time from here. Because one of the most common things that comes up at this part of the training is a lot of questions about nuances or step-by-step pieces that someone needs to follow. Meanwhile, they have done none of the assignments and they have made none of the decisions necessary to open up the next set of action items. If that's you, you're toast at this point, and you need to go back and you need to start making some decisions. Training courses, audio lessons, more information does not lead you closer to the goal line. And I'm not even going to say that, quote, taking action is the magic bullet. Decisions are what drive you forward. Decisions that open up the next set of decisions. The best thing you can possibly do is make a good decision. And the second best thing you can do is to make a bad decision, because you can always correct a bad decision with another good or bad decision. At least you're making progress. The worst thing you can do is data gather in order to make the best decision possible. So in this section, I'm going to go through the most commonly asked questions up to this point. And you will notice a consistent theme of simplicity and making decisions. Because what most people will do is they will have a bunch of ideas at this point. They'll want to go down one of many different rabbit holes, and they want specific details about which route they should go down. Meanwhile, they have not answered any of the questions or made any decisions or done any of the homework up until this point. So let's not waste our breath here. Let's not waste our brain power. Go back and make some damn decisions. That's your job as a leader. Even if you don't have a team, you must be able to lead yourself to be able to make decisions if you want the world to open up for you. For example, the most commonly asked question that I'm asked at this point, and I know because I see them, is, can you go deeper into X topic? Email marketing, social media marketing, Amazon marketing. And I always go back to asking that person, well, do you know who you're targeting? Do you know what products you are going to be giving to them? Do you know what the overall brand messaging is going to be? And almost always their answer is no. And so instead what we do is we try to fill our brains with more information in order to delay the decision-making ability, the decision-making deadline. The fact is, you don't make any good decisions until you've made some other decisions. So, know We are not going to go deep into the details of email marketing. We're not going to go deep into the details of Amazon channel management. Your goal is to come out of this training knowing what your business is going to be so that you can build it. Because we can't build anything until you know exactly who you are and who you're going to serve. All of the how can be found on YouTube, can be found on Google machines, can be found on podcasts, can be found in the capitalism.com community, can be found in the 1% newsletter that we send out every month. All of the case studies, all of the specific things that are working right now will open up for you when you know exactly who it is that you're serving and what 3 to 5 products you are giving to them and how you're going to bring it to market via a launch strategy using Amazon and using other strategies. The next question that I want to address is, how do I build an audience? And again, to this person, I will say, do you know what your brand is? Do you know what your person is? And do you know how you're serving them? Because without that, we can't build an audience. In order to have a successful launch, we do not need to have 10,000 people following us, 100,000 people following us. We need a few hundred people paying attention. And we can do that through a variety of different ways. We can do that through creating content. We can do that with partnering with influencers, which we'll talk about. But the most important thing that we can do at the beginning stages of a business is simply to document the build out of a business. That looks like this. It might mean blogging about the direction of your company. It might look like pulling out your phone and saying, here I am at the manufacturer, or here I am looking at this prototype. I'm starting this business in yoga, and here's the new mat that we just got from the supplier. It might look like talking about your experience and interviewing people in similar spaces on a podcast. It might look like making videos on YouTube. The important thing is that you are simply documenting, however you are comfortable, the build out of your business. And in doing so, you are literally showing and developing the brand story. Because you will start to get immediate feedback from people who like this feature, don't like this feature. People who want to buy it just because they become fans of the brand. Again, we don't need to have thousands of people. We need a few hundred people following us in order to take sales on day one. That is the point. And just so you know, I have to have this conversation with really experienced sellers and brand builders and entrepreneurs too. They think that they need to go scale something before they've taken a damn order or before they've had any interest at all. But we cannot build a house until there is a foundation or a piece of wood. The first step of a 1,000-mile journey is that single step. We don't get to take the helicopter to the end of the journey. We have to take orders first. We have to have one person follow us before we can have 1 million. The way that we do that is by talking about the business that we are building. Behind every purchase, there is a person. Behind every decision, there is a person. And in order to sell to them, you must get their attention. We will do that by just documenting the development of a business. You do not need to run Facebook ads or Instagram ads or sponsor podcasts or partner with influencers or run Amazon pay-per-click. You don't have to do any of that. All of those are gasoline on the fire. In the Scaling on a Shoestring Budget module, we will talk about opportunities to take sales with a very small budget. But my recommendation to you is to only think about documenting the build out of the business so that you have a little bit of a following to launch to when your products become available. The next question that I'm going to address is, what makes a good brand or a good business? This is a good question because I like the reference that I think it was Russell Brunson said at one of our events, which is called the Capitalism Conference. He said, if you are pursuing a level 2 opportunity and you execute it, meaning like a 2 out of a 10, if you got a little tiny opportunity and it's you execute it flawlessly, it's still only a 2. If you pursue a level 10 opportunity and you only get it done 50% of the way, you're at least at a level 5. So what makes a level 10 opportunity versus a level 2 opportunity? What makes that a good brand or a good business? The number one thing that I look for is a large pool of total buyers. So right now next to me, I've got a cup of coffee. Coffee is a big industry. Now we know this because there are crappy companies like Folgers that still make billions of dollars. Why? Because it's a big market and they've been around for a long time. We don't have to build $1 billion business. We're building $1 million business. So if there are $1 billion companies in the industry, it means we can shave off just a little bit of that and have a nice little business. So big markets with lots of profit are the ones that I want to go into. And you might say, well, there's a lot of people who already sell that. Yes, competition is usually a good sign that there's money to be made in that market. So big companies like coffee, sports, pets, these are all big markets where there are a lot of different niches that we can carve out and make our own. Your job of building a brand is to serve a very specific subgroup of a very large market. For example, I have a skincare company called Foxbrim. Foxbrim is all natural ingredients, all organic ingredients, and mostly edible ingredients. And the reason I tell you that is because our market is not Maybelline. We are never going to be as big as Maybelline. I hope I'm wrong on that, but that's not the direction of the business. The direction of the business is to serve that paleo crunchy mom who cares about synthetics and what goes on her skin and in her body and on her kids' skin and body. And because of that, we have a very specific person that we are talking to in a very large market. Beauty is a, $1 billion industry. So we're going after a big market with a very specific subgroup that we are targeting. That's going to make our Facebook ads, that's going to make our Instagram ads, that's going to make our influencers all easy to manage and target. Whereas most people just think about what the product is that they're selling and they have no idea who it is that they're going to be selling to and how they're going to bring it to them. So your job is to have a subgroup of a very big market. Great example of this, and I know I've used this before, is Bulletproof. Realize this. Listen. Bulletproof started as a blog of this dude who was writing to executives about how to be more productive. And he talked a lot about coffee. And then he started talking about how there was mold in coffee. And he got such a following around this idea that he started his own coffee line that was mold-free. And then it became about supplements and food and all of this other stuff. He's probably going to have $1 billion business as a result of this. It started as a very small, very core, very raving group of fans that talked about coffee and productivity. That's all. 1, 2, skip a few. Now he's got $1 billion company. That's where it starts. You can't think about the $1 billion business. You have to think about the small group of raving people that you serve immediately. And later, it can become a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar business. Your only job right now is to identify what the business is and who you serve. And then, should you continue on with us inside the 1%, if you come to our events, if you decide to go this route in business, you will be building that out over time. But we can't do any of that until you know who the group of people is in a large market that you serve. When you figure that out, actually, I shouldn't say figure that out. When you decide who that is, then all of the steps just open up. Question number 4. How do I pick a good product to sell on Amazon? That is the wrong question to ask. I understand that most people look at Amazon as this place where they put a product and money flows to them, but that is not the case. Amazon is a distribution tool. No one ever goes to Walmart and says, what's a good Walmart product to sell? They say, this is the person that I'm targeting. These are the products that I sell to them, and I sell in Walmart. That's your job as a business. The minute that you are looking for an open opportunity on Amazon is the time that you start copying everyone else. And the more you copy someone else, the less valuable your products and brands are to the marketplace. So you can look at Amazon for data, for distribution, for marketplace feedback, but you should not be looking at it as a place to identify what products you are going to sell, unless it's just feedback and ideas that you are gathering, which I've done. I had a sports nutrition brand called Sheer Strength, and every once in a while we would peruse the marketplace to see what other people were doing well or not doing well in our space. But we don't use that data to decide what products we're going to roll out. We use that data to say, what do our people want? And how do we give more of that to our people? The minute you compromise what your people want, your brand shrinks. For example, I have a student that has been to my home. I do events sometime at my home, masterminds or workshops. This was a workshop. It's called 8 Figure Exits. We talk about building the company to sell from the ground up. And this person sold a very specific product to a very specific group of people. And it was a small group of people, and it was only one product. But they were doing well. They were doing about $500,000 a year in sales, which is a really nice starting point. One product, one group of people. Then they said, man, we're getting all these sales from Amazon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what else people are selling on Amazon. And they were stuck for a long time. But the second they switched to saying, okay, what else does our current customer want? Not what's selling on Amazon, what is somebody else doing well, but what does our current customer buy? That's when all these different great product ideas started coming to mind. And they started being able to release them over and over again to the point where they would be a multi-million-dollar business. So your job isn't to identify a product to sell on Amazon. Your job is to identify what products your person buys and then go release them on Amazon. Next question. How do I know which manufacturer to use? Great question. There's a few places that make it easier for you to identify a good manufacturer. The first is from a referral from someone that you know or someone in the community. If you're in a specific market, then it's always best to get a referral from someone that you know who is already in that space. You can find that on forums. You can find them in Facebook groups. You can find them through your network. You can find them in entrepreneurial circles. The second best place to find good manufacturers is to go to trade shows for your specific industry and just ask people. For example, one of my favorite suppliers I met at a food expo in New York City. So food is my favorite market. It's why I use brand examples like RX Bar and Bulletproof. I love food brands. They're just so much fun. I like food. So I went to a food expo in New York City where there's just all kinds of booths. And it's just, free sample city. It was awesome. But the really exciting thing was that all of these different suppliers were there, and they make chips and they make nut butters and they make all kinds of stuff. And seeing them face to face allows it to be a lot easier to choose who you jive with and who you don't. The third way to identify a manufacturer is simply to make decisions on communication when you're working with people on Alibaba. So Alibaba is the marketplace for suppliers and wholesalers, and I always go with just who has the best communication. I will overpay in order to have good communication because I can always negotiate those rates later. I want the supplier who's going to work with me for a long time, and I will make negotiation or further decisions later. I want speed of execution, and you cannot have speed of execution without good communication. Speed is the name of the game, and you increase speed by increasing your frequency of decisions. Decisions, people, that is how you move forward. Next question, what social media channels should I use? And I go back to asking, do you know who your person is and do you know how you're going to serve them? And almost always the answer is no. Because when the answer is yes, all we have to do is say, okay, where does that person hang out? If it's a sales professional that is on the road 24 weeks a year, then they're probably hanging out on LinkedIn. If it is the bulletproof executive, then it's probably on LinkedIn too. If it's crunchy moms, then it's probably Pinterest and Instagram. But the most important question is not what social media channels should I use, it's what content platform are you most comfortable using consistently? Or is the person that you are hiring comfortable using? For example, I am most comfortable creating content via the written word and the spoken word. So I blog and I write podcasts. I write and I create podcasts because I'll do them consistently. Now, my company, capitalism.com, is more interested in building a platform. And right now, our platform is built on Instagram and video. So we're going to hire people specific to those platforms. Remember, you're building a business here. So eventually you will hire someone for all the different social media channels that you want to pursue. Your job is not to go figure those out. Your job is to set the direction of the company, which comes down to who you serve and what products they want to buy to start. And you will adjust later. That's being a business person, not figure out which social channel to use. You need enough of a social following or any following at all to launch the business to get 10 to 25 sales a day. That's all. That's all we got to worry about. Think about the first domino before you start building the multi-million-dollar vision. And your only job right now is to know who you serve and what products you're going to roll out to them. Next question. What if my product is the same as everyone else? This is a great question. If you are selling to a big market, which you should be, then it is almost your job to sell similar products to everyone else. Now, I am not saying to copy everyone. What I am saying is that you'll probably have some product crossover with you and other people in your space. It's just naturally going to happen. Nike and Reebok have product crossover. The difference is in how they communicate what they stand for, in who they target for what purpose. But the products are mostly the same. They have some different styles, they have some different colors, they have different variations, but the product is mostly the same. The brand is what is different. A great video for you to watch would be Simon Sinek's Start With Why presentation, in which he talks about how brands are built on why they exist rather than what or how they do. So, targeting the overall mission and message of the journey that your hero is on, positioning yourself as Yoda to their Luke Skywalker. That is how you differentiate your business when you are selling products that are the same as everyone else. I have a client who's in the yoga space, and just like everyone else, they sell mats and blocks and towels. But their mission is different than everyone else's. Their mission is to up-level the consciousness of their followers and their customers. Now, that's a very specific demographic. That's a specific way about going through the world. And in that mission, they have lots of different products they could sell that are not yoga related too. But that gives them differentiation versus everyone else who is just going out there saying, we sell the best yoga products in the world. Only one person can make that claim. Ours is the best. No, ours is the best. No, ours is the best. What is the unique positioning that you've got in the world? That comes down to why you exist, not just what you do. If you haven't noticed, all of this comes back to one central group of decisions. That group of decisions being who it is that you serve, how you serve them, what you sell them. And your job as the leader of a new company is to identify that. Once you know that, all the different products and opportunities open up for you. Here's a quick story to wrap this up. I had another participant at a workshop at my home who sold, I think it was knee sleeves or running bands or a very commoditized product. And they said to me, I don't know who I serve because knee sleeves will sell to old people, they'll sell to runners, they'll sell to athletes, and they just had this big mental hurdle over who it was that they were targeting. And I said, listen, dude, the way that you get all of those different markets is by choosing one of them. Go sell to one of those groups of people. And that opens up the opportunity to sell more products to them, and it will go to new people as well. For example, I don't know if you know, Quest Nutrition, actually their core market is low-carb dieters. Low-carb dieters is their target market. Now, we don't think about that because that's not how their messaging comes across, but it did when they launched. Now they sell to everybody. In the same way, Cliff Bar, another food brand, Cliff Bar sold to male endurance athletes. A food bar, an oat-based bar sold to male endurance athletes. In fact, the story on the packaging is, I was on my bike and I couldn't take another bite of a power bar. Now, it's not like non-athletes don't eat Cliff Bars. Just like Gatorade's core market is to college athletes. Doesn't mean people who are overweight don't drink Gatorade. If you target a specific group of people, the rest of the world opens up for you. The entire product sphere opens up for you, but you cannot do that until you identify the first person, the one person that you're targeting. Remember, it only takes one. It takes one customer. It takes one product. It takes one decision to change everything. Make that one, and we will scale it from there. And that's what we'll talk about in the next module.